It's Bruce here. Some people have asked me about spaghetti sauce, so I'm going to walk you through today how I do that. First off, the recipe, and I'm going to look away from the camera to read this. 3/4 to a full bushel of tomatoes. It's what you can fit in your pot. 15 sweet peppers. You can use green. I do not prefer green peppers. I find the flavor too strong, but your choice. A bunch of parsley. People ask how much is a bunch. I will show you that right here. You go to the grocery store, comes with this little thing on it. That's a bunch. Next, don't close the thing. Sorry. 6 pieces of celery, 6 to 8, whatever you like. 2 bulbs of garlic. I don't use bulb garlic. I use minced garlic. You can get this. This is a quart jar. Got it at Costco. Trisha found it for me. I add it after the fact. I do not add it to what I put through the food grinder. 6 to 8 onions, depending on the size. Trisha got me really large onions, so I'm only using 6. After you get all that cooked down, and we'll talk about that, how to do that in a minute. Once you're simmering the sauce that you've made, I add a pint of canola oil, a 1/4 cup of salt, 3/4 cup of sugar, and 3 cans of tomato paste. Prefer the 12-ounce can of tomato paste. You can get this at Kroger. The reason I like it, ingredients: tomatoes and citric acid. I don't think you can read that. You might, right there. Probably backwards. Sorry about that. But 3 cans of that. If it's the smaller cans, you use 6. And the other thing that I do, and some people do, some people don't, before I can the sauce, I go ahead and add parsley, oregano, my garlic, basil, some salt or some pepper, in addition to the other stuff I read. That's really to taste. Some people like doing that when they can it. Some people like just putting in that initial stuff and adding the basil, the oregano, the extra garlic, and the pepper when they actually cook it, pull the can out and cook it to eat it. So you can do either or. I prefer to put that stuff in now. I'll talk through that when I get to that point, because I'll tell you how much I put in, and that's again to your own taste. If you haven't made sauce before, I would actually suggest you lean towards not putting it in when you're canning the sauce and adding it when you're cooking it to eat. That way you can put a little in. If it's not strong enough, put a little more. I already know what I like. I've been making sauce for many years. This is an old family recipe. My mom makes it, my sister, my brother and sister-in-law, my grandmother, my aunt. I'm not sure where it came from, but it's one that we like, and we'll go from here. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to get the onions, the pepper, the celery, and the parsley in, probably an 8-quart saucepan. Little water, put a lid on it. Basically cooking it to soften it up so the onions and the celery go through the food grinder, and I'll show you the food grinder in a little bit. I don't have it put together, and we'll go from there. I'll be back once I get the veggies chopped up. I'm going to go ahead and take the time to dice the tomatoes. I dice them into about thirds, and obviously cut the top, cut the stem out, and put them in the 22-quart saucepan, and again heat it up with a little water, again just to break the skins up. So I'm going to get all that going, and I'll show you once I get that done what it looks like. Okay, I thought I'd show you what I got. So That is the peppers, onions, celery, and parsley. Again, just cooking it down, trying to get the stuff tender. So you can see that onion is pretty flexible. Sorry about that. That's what I'm after. It just makes it easier to go through the food processor. And here are the tomatoes. Again, this is a 22 quart saucepan. You do not have to do batches this large. I just like to get it done. They're quartered. This is what I'm after. The skin's starting to peel off, but it needs cooked some more. But that's what we're trying to get. The skin's loose. So there's probably a quart or two of water in the bottom of that just to help the steam. We'll get that up to temperature. Food processor, that is right here. There is the first batch I did earlier. My videoing did not come out. The food processor, again, I've seen them at E&S Sales in Shipshewana, Indiana. If you have Amish in your area, you can order them. I've also seen them at Tractor Supply or Big R, that type of store. Another option, if you are so inclined, I do not have yet, but my brother uses his KitchenAid mixer with an attachment that goes right there in the center, and it will do the cranking for you instead of the old manual way. That's about all I got for right now. I'm gonna cook the tomatoes down just to get those skins off, and then I will show you some food processing once we get that going. So here is the 16 quart that I catch in. It goes right here, and there's my wonderful stand. That is the cat food container with a milk crate on it and the pan, and that is just to get up here so it's not splashing so much. And again, we'll show you that in a little bit. See you in a while. Okay, we're going to try this again. So just get some of this, and it goes right there, and you can see the water in there. We're just going to crank it, and that comes right out, and it's gone. Got this little plastic plunger, kind of jam the stuff down the hole. That's what it looks like. And go up here again, give it a little push. There we go. And that is what we're after. That is the tomato sauce right there. That stuff goes in the trash. So you basically grind that all through the food processor, and what we're after here, you can see the skin peels right off. So, and that's how far down you want to cook the tomatoes. Once I get this all ground, I'll record some more. I'll be back. Okay, Bruce, I'm back. The sauce is in the pan, and don't worry about this. We'll get this off here in a little while. It just happens when you make sauce. So, thought I'd go through, and we'll just go. I thought I'd go through what I'm going to add at this point. A pint of oil, and if you're not familiar, that should say 2 cups, 1 pint, so 2 cups of oil. I prefer canola, 1/4 cup salt, 3/4 cup sugar, seasonings. Again, if you don't make sauce very often, the only thing I probably would put in is the garlic. These 4 things, the oil, the salt, the sugar, the garlic. If you know how you like your sauce seasoned, you can season it before you can it. If you don't, again, the recommendation is that you would season your sauce when you cook it. And the things that I usually add, parsley, basil, oregano, and pepper. And I gotta turn my thing down or I'm gonna boil over. Had a little too good of a rolling boil there. We're gonna let it cool off just for a minute. And we'll add some stuff to it and then we'll put it back on the burner. So I'm not gonna show you, again, 2 cups of oil, a cup of salt, not a cup of salt, a quarter cup of salt, 3/4 cup sugar, and then the garlic. The recipe, if you use whole garlic, you would have put it in at the beginning and went through the food grinder. It calls for 2 bulbs. I happen to know how much garlic I like to a quart of sauce. So minced garlic, either a tablespoon or 2, depending on your taste. I do about 1.5 so per quart. So I know this is 16 quart. So at a minimum, I'm going to put 16 tablespoons of garlic in. If you do not like that much garlic, do not put that in. Maybe put half to start. And then when you're cooking it again with these spices, when you're getting ready to eat it, you can always add more garlic. Can't take it away once you put it in. So I'm going to go ahead and get those 4 things in. If you want to try my recipe, again, you're going to be stuck with it. I add black pepper, oregano, basil, and parsley. And again, I know about how much I like. I use a pinch method, and a pinch is you reach in and how much you can get in, like these 3 fingers, and drop it in. I do a pinch per quart. So again, 16 pinches of each. Again, this is to your taste. If you think that's a lot, put half, or again, wait until you cook it and then you can add a little. If it's not strong enough, you can add a little more. Again, I've been making this long enough. I know what I like. So I'm going to shut the camera off and get that added, and we'll probably come back. I'm probably going to boil it for an hour, not boil, simmer for an hour or 2, just to get some of the water out and get a little thicker sauce. Towards the end, probably a half hour before I'm going to can, I will add 3 cans of tomato paste. Again, this is a 12-inch can from Kroger. The only thing in it is tomatoes and citric acid, so not a lot of extras there. So we'll get it going. When I get ready to can, we'll get the camera set back up, and I will show you that process, which is what I think most the people that had heard me doing it this way had never seen. So that's what we'll do. Okay, so this is actually what people are interested in, which is the hot canning part. Non-stick skillet, doesn't matter, a pan. Basically, I'm going to get a rolling boil. I've got the lids down in here, the rings, want them to get them hot. The jars, mouth side down in the water once the boiling water comes, and I'll show you this in a few minutes. These will get hot to the touch. That's what we're aiming for. Hot to the point that you almost need a towel to pick them up. I'm used to it. I'd recommend a glove like this to pick them up, or a dry towel again. We're going to let those boil. We've got a third one in there. Usually when I set them in, I kind of try to set them on the lids and get a little gap. It just seems the steam gets up in there better. Over here, the hot sauce, just lid on to keeping it cool. Basically what I'm going to do when the jars are hot, I'm going to set it in this pan. I'm going to take the lid off. I am going to fill the jar, the quart jar, up about that full, usually just where the shoulder's at. And then I am going to take a washcloth and wipe this rim off. You want it clean. You can't have any food on it or it will not seal. Once we've got that wiped off, we will use the fork I have over here and get a lid and a ring, put it on the jar, put the jar on the towel. Usually I don't stack them this close. This is when they've cooled. When they're hot, leave a little room because you want them to cool what you're trying to get. You can kind of see it. This is concave, meaning it's down. You'll hear them pop, and you want all of them when they've cooled. That's how you know they've sealed. So I'm going to try to get the camera hung up and for a good shot, and we'll go from there. Back in a few. So that did not come out as good as I'd like, so we're going to do the close-up. So what I'm looking for, that's kind of cloudy, that's the steam in the jar. This one's actually hotter than this one, so I'm going to grab it. We're going to try to do this one-handed. So there is the jar. Over here is the sauce. There is the measuring cup that I use with a nice hooky handle. Just get the sauce and into the jar. Second, get you down here. And I'm gonna eyeball it here. I like just about that shoulder, right about there. And then I dump any extra sauce back in just to keep it hot. Washcloth. Trying to see, this is what it looks like. So, I don't know if that can come through. Basically, you just want to see glass. So just wipe that off. And now we're going to come back over here and just use a fork. Stand one of those lids up. Grab it. Don't burn yourself. Some people use a pair of tongs, like hot dog tongs. Those work. I guess I'll just say I'm used to the hot water. And there's the ring. And again, just hand tighten, not really weighing down on it, and set it down. There you go, 4 done. I'm gonna go finish probably, I'd probably say I'll get 14 or 15, if I'm lucky, maybe 16. The first batch I did earlier this morning, I got 15. So we're gonna go and I'll come back and show you when I'm done. But that's really all there is to hot canning the way I do it. It might be called something else, but that's what I've called it. So talk to you in a bit.